What's up, guys? Today I will be talking about my top 10 favorite movies of 2019. If you enjoy this list, please like the video, please share the video around, and please subscribe for more movie review content. Also, don't forget to hit that ringing bell down below for further notifications on future videos. Comment down below on how you felt about 2019 for film as a whole. Comment down your list. What do you think were some of the best movies? What do you think were some of the worst movies? But before I go into my list, I really wanted to give a special shout out to 8 films that could have easily cracked the list here, because I think there was just so many amazing movies this year. Looking at my list, I really didn't see a whole lot. I think I've seen almost 50 movies, but at least I got around to maybe some of the essentials, but I'll leave a description down below at some of the movies that I did miss, and I'll give a shout out to them as well. I probably will work on getting to watching them pretty soon. I want to give a shout out to Little Women, an excellent adaptation to the original source material, but also an amazing cast, a beautiful, convincing storyline, plus Greta Gerwig's direction is amazing here. A really big surprise for me this year, and I was saddened to not put it on the list, but it does deserve a special shout out, and it's still in theaters, guys, so I would recommend to check it out. My next shout out is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino's amazing detail and intricate look into 1960s Hollywood. At times, it's easily my favorite Tarantino movie, but in other ways, it can be the worst. I have seen it a few times already and enjoy the atmosphere, the characters, and the script. It's definitely a great, laid back, chill on the couch, and kind of let the flow go through you kind of movie. I do think it deserved a spot on the list, but I think for it being so long, it can feel a little drawn out. But there are great performances here by Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Plus, Tarantino really nailed this one, I think. Next shout out goes into Ford v Ferrari, a high-octane racing movie with so much edge and human drama. One of the best sports movies of the year, but also one of the best dramas of the year. Christian Bale and Matt Damon give awesome performances. It almost kicked through the list, but I think honestly the movie kind of suffers from pacing issues at the beginning. It was kind of weird for it to pick up, and it was slow going at first, and I think the epilogue was a little bit weird as well. It is very entertaining though, and it is definitely something I will buy on 4K when it comes out. Next shout out goes to Avengers Endgame, the strong, epic conclusion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We will probably have more movies after this, it's already confirmed, but this truly feels like a capping finale to what has been built to this universe. It was one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. I think it also had one of the best action sequences that I've ever seen. Plus, the movie is very emotionally strong when it comes towards the end. You care about these characters way more than what you would expect. Although, the film doesn't really become amazing until that last part of it. I think it's a great movie throughout, but it doesn't beat Infinity War in my opinion, which I think was on my top 10 of 2018. I think so. But it was a great experience though, and I would say it's probably one of the best MCU films out there. The Lighthouse, a crazy, dark, and intense look into 2 caretakers of a lighthouse. It's definitely not a movie for everybody, but I don't think it's necessarily complex either. I think Pattinson and Dafoe give amazing performances here, but the movie is simply about how madness can take over you. And I guess there's some sort of sense of Greek mythology here, but it's a film that people can look deep into, and it's a film that you don't have to look that deep into either to be entertained. Plus, I enjoy the amazing black and white letterbox aesthetic of the movie. I think it's a very enthralling, interesting experience, but it is definitely weird. And 1917. I just reviewed this a couple of days ago. Check it out on my channel for more detail on why I gave this film a special shout out. I love the movie, and I wish it would have cracked in my top 10. It's a very intense war film with many deep character moments, but it's something that I feel like could have been tighter in pacing. But besides that, it's a technical achievement. I've been trying to convince myself for days that it belongs higher on the list. But I think everybody should check it out. It's in theaters right now, and I think you should see it either in the regular theaters or probably in IMAX, because it's definitely worth that experience. And Us, Jordan Peele's second film, is darkly funny, horrific, and a great horror movie experience. I think many people were divisive on it, but I think the film holds a simple meaning behind it all. But if you are looking deep, then there are many conversations to be had about this film. It has great performances, especially by Lupita Nyong'o, who I am rooting for the Oscars this year. Playing both the doppelganger of herself and her regular personality was amazing and is well deserved. I don't think it was as good as Get Out, which was my favorite movie of 2017, but it does offer a lot of discussion and really pleased the horror fan in me. And my last shout out goes to Rocket Man. So close to hitting the top 10 just by a hair. I absolutely love this movie. It's a musical, it's a drama, it's a biopic about Elton John's life, but it's also a fantasy about having to deal with his life as a gay man and the hardships that people gave him for it. It wasn't him simply being gay either, but trying to find purpose and wholesomeness in his life. The movie teaches a lesson about how money or acclaim isn't exactly true love. It's superficial, even for the world's biggest rock star. The movie has sweeping musical sequences that interweave into the storyline, and the movie hits hard with emotion, and every song in there makes sense for the moment. Taron Egerton is wonderful as Elton John here, and I almost wanted to put this in my top 10, but there are many films that I think edge out quite a bit. Check it out, though. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, but if you love something like Walk the Line or even Bohemian Rhapsody, I would say definitely check it out. Now on to the top 10 best movies. Number 10, The Irishman. Martin Scorsese's return to the original gangster movie is absolutely triumphant. And what a great thing to do for Scorsese to put this on Netflix, especially for a movie that is very long, about 3.5 hours long. The whole time, though, I was engrossed into the lives and stories of these characters. I think Martin Scorsese uses many of his inspirations here from previous films, but doesn't copy them in any way. This is a gangster film that focuses more on regret and grief than highlighting the fast, rich, and the fast, rich lives of these characters. I don't think it's as good as Goodfellas or Casino, but it doesn't need to be those films either. I very much so appreciated that Martin Scorsese allowed time for things to develop, and his slow yet methodical approach to the character of Frank Sheeran, played by Robert De Niro, is a great iron for the story. The man who narrates the entire thing and conflicts between him and Jimmy Hoffa and Russell Buffalino, both excellently played by Al Pacino and Joe Pesci. And many viewers had to watch the movie in parts, but I would highly recommend not to do that. I was able to stay awake, pay attention, and feel immersed into their worlds. And plus it has one of the most haunting final shots that I've ever seen. But it isn't a movie for everybody either. It would be hard to go back and rewatch it for the sake of making time to go through that experience again. But it is a well-crafted, deep, and brutal film throughout. For my number 9 is Knives Out, Rian Johnson's whodunit, twisted and turned into one of the best thrillers and comedies of the year. A sensational cast and an intense story about the murder of a family's heir. It's definitely not the typical whodunit. The movie figures it out after the first act, but the way things are covered up, planned, and solved are weaved together very well. I think it's definitely a movie with a bit of nitpicks to look upon, but this movie is so entertaining and it's so rewatchable because of the cast, the direction, and just the great script. Daniel Craig is the major highlight of this film, and I think he goes very unnoticed right now for the Oscars. It's definitely more of a comedic performance, but he's very committed to the role. Also, a shout out to Ana de Armas is incredible in this movie as well. The movie had its own sense of agenda and commentary in there. At times, it may be a little bit too heavy, but I think it's very effective. The movie has a great final shot where it wraps itself in a nice bow. When it was over, I knew immediately that I wanted to buy it in 4K and have fun with it all over again. It's just such an entertaining movie. Number 8 is Marriage Story. Noah Baumbach's tragic but often funny look into the lives of Charlie and Nicole at the end of their marriage and the grind of what divorce can do to a person. This movie has one of the best openings I've ever seen. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson give some of the most raw performances that I've ever seen, and the supporting cast is wonderful as well. It all binds together beautifully, and there were many moments where I teared up from it. Although that may be the reason why the movie is not higher on my list, I don't think it's necessarily a rewatchable movie. It's almost a perfect movie, but I do feel like they sidelined Johansson's character at the end of it. I won't say much of what happened, but I think the film had such a perfect balance of these two characters until the second part and where it kind of switches gears for them. Despite that, though, it's damn near a flawless film, but something that I have the urge to, something I don't really have the urge to watch again for a while. But I am rooting for it when it comes to Oscar season. I think it's incredible in all aspects of the filmmaking. Number 7 is Parasite. This movie is simply incredible. I wish it would have been higher on my list, but I do feel like that the first half is not as good as the second half. But the build to what happens is amazing, and I wouldn't worry about the subtitles either. I mean, it's well worth reading a couple of lines every few seconds, and when you are hooked, you are going to want to know how this all ends because it's so intriguing. Plus, the script, I think, is really intriguing itself, and the character depth between the two families are all well developed. It reminded me a lot of Hitchcock movies, but for a modern age, and surprisingly, there's a big amount of emotional weight to the characters, especially towards the end. There's also beautiful filmmaking here, from the production design to the cinematography. They all worked together and made it a very twisted experience for the viewer. And my number 6 here is Booksmart, an excellent debut for Olivia Wilde and one of the funniest movies of the year. The story of two high school women who are trying to go all out for their last night as high school seniors. While the movie can have the hints of Superbad or any sort of R-rated raunchy comedy, the movie is much more deeper than that. I think it explores the friendship between the two characters very well, and I think Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein are amazing, and they have some of the best chemistry of all the year. The relationship feels very wholesome and very real. Also, the filmmaking here is wonderful. This is probably one of the best edited movies of the year. There isn't a single moment where it feels like it needs to be tightened or cut. Also, Olivia Wilde really shows her directing chops here, and she does it with such a unique and a creative mindset. There are great sequences in here, like the stop motion Barbie sequence and the pool sequence. Plus, the film has a very witty, Juno-esque script with really biting commentary. If you haven't seen this movie yet, I highly recommend it. My number 5 favorite movie is Toy Story 4. I highly doubted this sequel walking in. The Toy Story movies ended in such a perfect way with Toy Story 3, so There was a hit of skepticism before seeing this one, but right from the very beginning, the movie sucks you in with the story of Woody and Bo Peep, and it's a very emotional moment between them. So the movie is much more of an epilogue for Woody and him trying to find his purpose as a toy. It beat my expectations by a lot, and it convinced me on why this sequel was necessary. It also has some of the most impressive CG animation that I've ever seen. It's very photorealistic, and the Toy Story movies always like perfect the scaling of animation to real life. The newer characters here, Forky, Gabby Gabby, Bunny, Ducky, Boom Kaboom are all wonderful supporting characters to this story. Whether if they offered emotion or laughs for the audience, the movie is absolutely hilarious. It has a pretty witty script, but the quirks of these characters, how they move and how they speak, gives many laughs for the audience, and I couldn't stop laughing the entire time. It was wonderful. It is one of the funniest movies of the year, but it also offers a heartwarming story as well in the usual Pixar fashion. And that balance of both the drama and the humor made it one of the best times in the movie theater. My number 4 favorite movie of the year is The Last Black Man in San Francisco. This was a movie I was holding back on for a while, but I finally got to watch it a couple of weeks ago and absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, the movie, it just splashes with senses of creativity in its filmmaking and has a real genuine heart for its characters and story. This is the story of two black men, played by Jimmy Fails and Jonathan Majors, who are dealing with being poor and oversee this beautiful house in the suburbs of San Francisco that has a deep-rooted connection to Jimmy's character. It's a very quiet, moving film about the power of friendship through the struggles of gentrification, racism, and finding their own sense of personal identity. Every shot in this movie is like looking at a painting, and the two performances here are phenomenal, especially Jonathan Majors, who should deserve Oscar recognition for his performance. It's not a film that relies on heavy drama or violence to overcome the story, but showing the painful emotions that people go through when they have nothing to do but just wallow in their poorness. It's a very thought-provoking movie, but it's also very funny as well. I would definitely seek this out if you haven't seen it yet, and I think it's on Amazon Prime, so I would give it a watch. My number 3 movie is Midsommar. Ari Aster's second feature presents a story of a grieving college student mourning the loss of her family, and there's a failing relationship with her boyfriend. She decides to go on a trip with him to Sweden to possibly rekindle their relationship and gain a good mindset after going through a tragedy. This was a film that was my number 1 for a while. When I saw it, the film had me shaken up. I mean, the lighting, the cinematography, and the haunting score all tricked the minds of the viewer to look past the innocent and see the dangers underneath the surface. Florence Pugh gives one of the best performances of the year, and the movie is very ambitious. It's a 2.5-hour horror movie, but it still kept me hooked and intrigued on what was going on. And this isn't a horror movie for everybody, but it's also a horror movie that doesn't want to win you over with just spectacle. But there are many messages in this film that are dark, deep, and interesting to discuss with people, especially with what happens at the end. I was pretty much frozen in my seat when it was over. My number 2 favorite movie of the year, and this is a controversial pick apparently, is Joker. The DC adaptation of the Joker's solo storyline was a big project walking into it. You had Todd Phillips, who directed nothing but sex comedies. Joaquin Phoenix was casted, and that brought back some of the intrigue for people. But controversies after controversies happened before the movie even came out. Security guards at movie theaters, incels taking over, and how violence is ruining cinema and degrading the minds of the youth. This is one of the most divisive films of the year, but I absolutely loved every second of it. I think it's a film that is brilliantly composed in its filmmaking, layered with dark subtext about the human psyche, and Joaquin Phoenix gives one of the best performances of the year. I enjoyed the moments with the Batman arc, and it didn't feel too heavy in the story. Plus, the movie has an explosive and insane ending. This isn't a movie about sympathizing for the Joker, but feeling sad for his patheticism. It's obvious from the beginning that the man is psychologically messed up, and it's because of a troubling past and a failed, corrupt mental health system. No one can fix this man, and no one wants to. It often reflects our sense of society and the anger we feel today about corrupt politics, class struggle, and the false notion of the American dream. And my number one favorite movie of 2019 is Uncut Gems. Throughout the entire film, you are on the edge of your seat the entire time. The experience, the energy, and the flow of it all works as this new age crime drama that I have been wanting to see for years. Adam Sandler is terrific here as Howard, but his performance wouldn't have really worked or have been effective without the keen and brilliant script and direction by the Safdie brothers. The film builds and builds the stakes for the audience to see it collapse in their faces and shock them at the core of their being. It's a perfect definition of how a movie should make you feel. It's truly the best movie I've seen all year, and I think it's very intense, it's violent, and it will keep you on the edge from beginning to end. So it's a perfect movie in my opinion. Thank you guys for watching. That was my top 10 favorite movies of 2019. Please give this video a like, please share the video around, and please subscribe for more movie review content. Also comment down below some of your favorite movies of the year. If you just want to leave a list down, that would be awesome. I would love to discuss with you on some of the lists that you have, and we'll discuss further on that. So thanks guys. Bye bye.